I think the question that I really want to ask Madhu is, where did you get these stories from? Could you tell us a little bit about that, please?
So, as a legal resource organization, we've been working on sexual harassment law since it was enacted. That's 2013. And since every organization, enterprise has the responsibility to put in place committees as well as, undertake trainings, we were completely deluged with requests from state governments, district level universities, private educational institutions, as well as private sector and the civil society. We ourselves organized several such trainings which are specifically for external committee members, external members who sit in the complaints committee, as well as for the other complaints committee members. And each time we would have these discussions, there would be a host of issues that would come up. There would be these stories, what do we do? Emails, as well as phone calls to discuss cases. And so we began documenting the whole lot of stories that we were getting. Early last year, we began sort of looking at all these stories we had collected to make sense of this, to see what are the big trends that are emerging, because on and off we have sort of a sense of what's happening. But what we found is that a large chunk of cases are simple, not simple, but really entrenched sexism, which is not covered by the law. And so people still bring it up because there's no other avenue to redress it. Then another big chunk that we were looking at was really this whole set of confusions, blurring of boundaries between young people. And these stories sort of kept haunting us because it was very difficult to put them in the victim-perpetrator framework. And we sort of kept them aside, and we were thinking about what should be done with it. There was a very small percentage of what one would call a predatory harassment, but that is not surprising because that's perhaps the most difficult to speak about. And that rarely comes out. There were other things like sort of cross-cultural confusions about asking person out for coffee, and then what that might mean. If a person agrees, what that might mean to the person who's asking, and sometimes the person being asked begins to feel very offended because it's been one too many outings of coffee. And same with gift giving. So I think these were some of the issues that were really jumping at us, which got us thinking. There's a social silence around these issues. Let's not forget that under the Indian law now, it is, adolescent sexuality is completely criminalized. So the age of sexual consent is 18 years. Comprehensive sexuality education in schools has been rejected. So at the policy level, we've set the stage for keeping people confused. And then you enter the workforce or the higher education, and unless you're extremely privileged and have empathetic parents who sort of spoke to you, you really only have pornography. So we sort of thought about various ways, and then we finally thought, well, why not these videos? And then when we began talking to Shabani and Samreen, then we sort of hit upon all this idea of these small capsules that would speak to different situations. And yeah, I'm so glad we did it.